Hello everyone, welcome back for another story from St. John the Baptist Dixie Anglican Church. My name is Janice Crutchman and I am very happy you could join us in the circle today. I've been looking forward to this. Wherever you are when you are watching this and whenever it is that you are watching this and whoever you might be watching this with, I'm glad you could be here today. Well, before we get to the story today, let's take a moment to get ready and begin like we always do. There was once someone who said such amazing things and who did such wonderful things that people began to follow them. And one day they just had to ask, "Who are you?" And this day that person said, "I am the light." Well, today I'd like to leave the light on while we share the story, like we do in church when we're gathering in person. We turn the candles on, we light the candles at the beginning of the service, and we extinguish them or change the light at the end. Today I'd like to do it that way. So I will leave this candle lit, and maybe over here would be good and safe. And we could leave it on while we share the story, like we leave the candles burning during a church service. Well, today's story is an interesting one, and it didn't turn out the way I expected. See, I spent time this week getting ready for the story. I learned the story, I practiced it, I read it, I watched it, and I also spent time getting some figures ready to tell the story. And they didn't turn out right. I wasn't going to be able to get them ready in time. You see, some of them turned out okay. I kind of like this one. I still need to draw a line for the legs and lines here to make the arms and put on a face, but that's going to be fairly easy. I like the way the figure overall turned out, so that was okay. But then, some figures turned out like this, and I couldn't use them to tell a story. All I can do with this one is peel the paper off, wash the glue off, and maybe even sand off some of the paint and start over. So we will share that story, but we won't share it this week. I'll put those pieces aside, I'll finish them, and we'll share the story when I'm ready to. And I was really cranky that this story wasn't turning out the way I wanted, that I wasn't getting ready the way I wanted. So what I did was I just sat down alone for a while, alone as a human being, but I knew God was there too, and I was really cranky. I was cranky that this wasn't working out the way I wanted. But I rested, and after a while I felt better. And after a while, I started to get some ideas because I remembered some stories where the same kind of thing happened to Jesus. I don't mean he had trouble making the figures to tell a story, although he is known for telling stories, so he may have used figures to make them. So maybe that happened. But I meant there were times when Jesus had to step aside from everything else and be on his own for a little while, alone as a human being, but knowing God was there too. So that's what today's story is about. We're using this box to tell the story. We usually use this to mark the desert, but it's not the desert today. I'm using it just because it's easier to stand up figures in. See, Jesus loved crowds. He loved people. All kinds of people. The people, the crowds, were the people he was ministering to. Oops. They were the people he was feeding. They were the people he was healing. There were the people he was having dinner with. There were the people he was telling stories with. He loved the crowds. He loved the people he was ministering to. But sometimes he also loved time to be on his own, alone as a human being, but knowing God was there too. Sometimes Jesus went on his own to get ready for something. There was a story we shared a while ago, around early Lent, I believe, when Jesus was baptized by his brother by his cousin John the Baptist. He was baptized in the Jordan, and then he went off for 40 days alone in the desert, where the devil tempted him, and Jesus resisted temptation, and then Jesus came back and began his ministry. Jesus also spent time alone early in his ministry in prayer to get ready for deciding who the 12 disciples would be. Jesus also spent time alone in rest after hard work. When the 12 disciples were sent out in pairs to share the word of God, and when they returned and told Jesus of their work, Jesus listened and then suggested they all take some time to rest, to be alone, but to know that God was there too. Jesus also knew that it's important to take time to be alone as a human, but to know that God is there too. It's important to take time alone when you're sad or upset. When Jesus heard that his cousin, John the Baptist, had been killed, he took some time on his own. Sometimes when you're very, very sad, it's important to take some time to be alone. To be alone as a human, but to know that God is there too. Also, Jesus took time when he was worried or anxious about something, when big things were about to happen. Do you remember the story we shared in Holy Week, where Jesus and the disciples were in a place we call the upper room? Oops. Okay. And they were having supper. They were having what we refer to as the Last Supper. And they took time to go to the garden. And when they were in the garden, Jesus took time on his own to be alone, but to know that God was there too, to pray about everything that was about to happen. He was about to be arrested, and he was about to be crucified. And this was a lot to deal with. He needed time to be alone with God to get ready. So I wonder why it is sometimes that you might need time to go rest, to be alone as a human, but to know God is there with you. I wonder how we can be certain that God is there with us. I wonder how we might pray in different ways. Some people might use words, some might use pictures, some might write, some might draw, some might use little figures to tell a story, some might pet their cat. That can help too. Thank you for joining the circle today, Simon. Anytime, you're welcome. And I wonder when I'll be able to finish these pieces and when I'll be able to tell that story. I wonder if you'll be able to join us when we can meet again and tell that story. I do hope you can join us next time, and I look forward to seeing you. Thank you. Simon came down, he woke up from his nap, and he came down to remind me that we forgot to change the light. Thank you, buddy. You see, the light couldn't stay in just that time, in just that place, and with just those people. So the light changed. And just like we turn out or extinguish the candles at the end of the church service, I'm changing this light. And now, the light can be with all of us, wherever we are, with all people, in all times, and in all places. Thank you once again for joining us. I've enjoyed this. I feel better now, and I look forward to meeting you again next time. Bye, everyone.